So I'm going to stick with the theme I started last week, which was to break down our incredible mission and vision statements. I think I would really like them even if I didn't kind of make them up. I wasn't alone. That was a group effort. But anyway, last week we talked about nurturing wholeness, and today I would like to talk about embracing oneness. So many things we could talk about as far as embracing oneness. But last week I applied nurturing wholeness to something specific. I applied it to those times when we tend to have trouble remembering our wholeness, like when we're not feeling very well. By the way, I'm feeling better. So I thought I would apply the idea of oneness, or the concept of oneness, to something else that makes it difficult for me sometimes to embody the truth of my being. Something else, a tendency that I have, and I think there may be at least one other person in the room who might have this too, this tendency to think I'm separate. And when I think I'm separate, I'm much more prone to judging. I'm much more prone to taking things personally. I'm much more prone to compare myself to other people, either favorably or not. Anybody else? Anybody else admit to? Okay, good. I thought it was at least one more. It also, let's see, this idea of separateness helps me imagine that I'm not enough sometimes. And yes, and taking things personally, which of course leads me to either attack or defend or whatever the reaction of the day is. I pick one every day. I don't know about you. Anyway, I believe an awareness of wholeness, nurturing wholeness, is the key to remembering the truth of our being when we're faced with physical issues. And I believe the key to this concept of, or to this belief in separation, is embracing oneness. Embracing oneness. Isn't that a great word, embracing? What does it mean? It means to welcome it in, and it means to hold it, right? So if I want to embrace oneness, it would really behoove me to have my hands free, which means I need to release, at least to some degree, again, my grip on this belief in separation. My senses tell me I'm separate. My senses tell me everything is separate. My senses tell me this universe is a bunch of parts, but it's not. It's one beautiful dance. So yes, the idea of oneness is wonderful, and we could talk about it for weeks, but it's even more beautiful when we can hold it in our hands and we can kick it, right? We can feel it. And we can base things on it, like our choices. So again, it's not just a spiritual platitude that we are all one. It's not just something we say. For billions of years, and I've been around for a lot of them, God has been honing and perfecting this incredible dance of oneness and harmony and balance on every conceivable level of life, right? The universe, as I said in my meditation, is one song. It's not what universe means, but I like it better. Universe. It's one harmonious song. There are trillions and quadrillions of notes in this song, which makes the dance even more amazing. Because chewing gum and walking is challenging for me to do at the same time. And science is right there, folks, with spirituality on this point. Physics is all over things like string theory and a holographic universe. And all these things mean is it's one. And everything in the universe knows somehow what every other bit of the universe is doing. Pretty scary thought. It's a pretty awesome thought, though. It's one beautiful, harmonious, interconnected, interdependent oneness, unity. It means one. Our bodies, you and I can list all these parts of our body. It's interesting we call it our body anyway. Right? So, it's a bunch of parts, but it's not. It is not a bunch of parts. Our senses perceive it as a bunch of parts. We study it as a bunch of parts because we can't wrap our brains around that it's one thing. But I have dissected bodies. It's been a while. I don't do it at home. I did it as part of my schooling. And I will guarantee you there is not a sign that says leaving esophagus, entering stomach. And we study this crazy stuff called histology in chiropractic school for some reason. Not that we'll ever look at a microscope our entire career, but we learned it. And what's amazing is you look at like a muscle turning into a tendon, right? Turning into a bone. Again, it's no clear divisions. It's like intermediate zones. It's like the muscle cells become a little more like tendon cells, and then they're more like tendon cells, and then it's a dance of oneness, folks. And similarly, we seem separate. I perceive you as separate, but there is no separation except in our minds, except in our perception. And again, don't even try to figure this out. This is something that can't be figured out, but it can be felt. Can't it? And again, as unitics, we are aware that, again, what we put out from our consciousness matters, yes or yes. And if that's true, how could that be true if it wasn't one thing? So, again, I don't really have a lot of control over what you're thinking or what your perceptions are. So if I want a universe that embraces oneness, then where does it have to start? It has to start in my mind, it has to start in my being, right? This is why it's so important to embrace it, to keep it center stage in our awareness. We have to have oneness in here before we could ever perceive oneness out here. And would it be a good thing if we perceived oneness out here? Because again, and it seems to have increased in the last decade or so, this us and them thing. And we're so busy, hating them that we're being exactly like them. It doesn't matter who them is. I think I'm a little upset about that one. So the phrase that helps me remember the truth, the phrase that helps me remember oneness is just like me. I got mad at somebody on the road the other day, which happens often. Donna Hawksford, God rest her soul, she laughed at me all the time because I always talked about driving. Driving is when I forget everything I believe. You wouldn't recognize me behind the wheel. Oh, there's loving Reverend Stew. Like somebody cuts me off. My first impression is they premeditated that. They've been planning that for weeks. I could see them with diagrams, and crazy. So I got mad at somebody the other day for cutting me off. Within 2 milliseconds, I realized I did the same thing to somebody yesterday. Have you come to the point in your life where you realize quickly after you've judged somebody else that you do exactly the same thing? You just like the way you do it better. So this is the challenge to this idea of just like me, because half the people, I don't want to be like them, and the other half, I don't think I could ever be like them. So how could just like me be true? Well, we may vary in degree, but we are all the same. We may have different stories and different characters and different plots in our stories, but we could all write the same book. And gosh, wouldn't it be helpful to remember this? Whether I'm judging somebody as better than me, I need compassion in that moment. I need to remember, in potential, I am just as good as the best. And I'm also just as bad as the worst. I have the seeds of whatever I'm judging in them in me, so it really helps me to remember just like me. I would like you, if you're willing and able right now, to turn. Some of you are not sitting next to anybody, but if you are sitting next to somebody, if you're not, go find somebody. Go find a pair of eyeballs to look into that are other than yours. Everybody understand those directions? So I don't want you to stare at them yet. Okay, in a second, I will have you look into each other's eyes. Just glance in their direction right now. Don't hurt your backs, by the way. It's not fun. So in a second, I'm going to have you look into each other's eyes. When you do, use soft eyes, please. We're not trying to burn anybody's retinas with your laser beams, okay? And it doesn't matter if you're left eye to left eye. Just look with soft eyes, meaning just let your eyes sort of glaze over and look in their direction. You can go do that now. So quietly, because eyeballs don't need voices. So while you're looking into each other's eyes, I would like you to repeat what I'm about to say to yourself, okay? Silently repeat the things I'm about to say as you continue to look into this person's eyes. Ready? Just like me. Just like me. You don't have to say it out loud. Just to yourself. Just like me. Just like me. This person is a unique, unrepeatable expression of God. And just like me, sometimes this person does not think so. Don't hug yet. We got a little work to do here. Just like me, this person is doing the best they can. And just like me, this person, again, sometimes does not think so. Just like me, this person is looking for love above all other things. And just like me, this person sometimes forgets where to look. Just like me, this person has had moments of indescribable joy, bliss. And just like me, this person has had times of horrible sadness and despair. This person is just like me. And go ahead and give this other you a hug now. Did some of you feel the truth of that? I have always sort of understood compassion on an intellectual level. It wasn't until I did that exercise that I really knew it. It's true. Oneness is true. We all, for one thing, share the same essence, the same birthright, do we not? Are we each, I thought we were doing child of the universe today, so are we each children of the universe? Are we each unique, unrepeatable expressions of God? Do we share the same source? Is that one source, did that one source love each and every one of us into existence? Is it still with us? And again, even on a less cosmic level, on a three-dimensional level, there is way more that is the same about us than what is different. We all have 46 chromosomes. Did you know that? There's obviously a lot of combinations and permutations possible from those chromosomes, but we are all essentially the same. We're like a recipe with the same ingredients put together differently, cooked for different lengths of time. Some of you are half-baked. Sorry. We all, sorry, that was an ad lib. We all have, they say now, 36 trillion cells that make up our body. Again, I don't know who the heck counts these things, and it changes all the time, so 36 trillion cells. We all create about 2.5 million new cells every minute from the Twinkies we eat, the air we breathe. Amazing. And we all do that. And we all do that pretty similarly. Quite amazing. And besides that, we all, again, my opinion, all have essentially the same desires. I believe we all essentially want the same things, yes? Yeah, we are all beautiful, unique expressions of spirit. We all probably at times fall short of that mark. We all are looking for love. We all do forget where to look. That's why we need each other. To remind ourselves, we've all had moments of joy. We've all had moments of despair. We've all celebrated. We've all mourned. Just like me helps me to access compassion. And compassion is the language of oneness. Just like me helps me get out of my head and into my heart, where compassion is the native language. And whether I judge others as somehow less than, or I judge myself as somehow less than, compassion is exactly what I need. Just like me reminds me to embrace oneness and to honor oneness by putting more love out into the universe. So, for this next week, when we become aware that we have rented the upstairs to a thought of separation or judgment or the illusion of being alone or being the only one, let it remind us to go to our heart. Let's give ourselves what we need in that moment. Isn't that reasonable? Isn't that a self-loving and honoring thing to do? That would be the best thing we could do, not only for ourselves, but for the world. Unless you believe the world needs more division, the world needs more separation, the world needs more us and them. It's only us, folks. And we are the ones we've been looking for. Let's keep nurturing wholeness. Let's keep embracing oneness so we can embody the truth of our being. Our mission statement is in order. It's not only good, it's in order. And so we can embody that beautiful sacred truth of our being. So we can create the kind of world that we choose to live in. And let's embrace ourselves right now. It's going to be hard to drive home this way, but you'll figure it out. You could use your elbows. Let's close our eyes for a moment. You can continue to embrace yourself. Precious Spirit of love, thank you for this universe. And thank you for the knowing that each of us is a unique, indispensable note in this universe. And that as we get our own note in tune, we're sweetening that song for everyone. Yeah, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
That is cool.